This video is an introduction to a very useful piece of software called a spreadsheet. This clip is meant to be used alongside this worksheet here. A spreadsheet has a grid layout with each individual box on the spreadsheet called a cell. Each cell has its own address. This is A1. So I've typed out all the information that I need. I'd like to point out a few things. You'll notice that the text in these cells is bold. Like a word processor, there are many text formatting items you can use. You can click on a cell and use the icons up here, or Control and B for shortcuts. I've highlighted a few of these cells, which will become clear later on the reason I've done that. And again, we can use the icons up at the top to change the colour. These are quite important cells, which is why I've done that. Another thing that's worth knowing is that each column is of a fixed width, and at the moment my text doesn't fit into it. So I'm just going to hover between two columns and you'll see the cursor change, and then if I click, hold and drag, then I can resize those columns so that my information fits in. Could be used by a person to figure out how much money they spend in a month and whether their wages is enough to cover that. So as I said earlier, we've got some yellow cells which are special here. They are going to be calculated. So this person's spending is split up into what they absolutely have to spend money on, essential items, what you might consider luxuries, and then we're going to add up everything, and then we're going to see whether the wages are enough to cover that. So I could manually, in my head or using a calculator, add up all of these essential items to find out the total. However, that would be pointless, and there would be no reason to use a spreadsheet to do that. So the way I'm going to do it is in here, this cell B12 is I'm going to use a formula to do that. Now there's a quick way of doing it, but until we are familiar with using formulas, I'm going to do the slow way. Do a formula. The formula is a bit like a sum, really. You firstly press equals, which might seem a bit unusual because that would often come at the end of a sum. Now we've got a suggestion here. I'm going to ignore that for the time being. Now I'm not actually going to type any of these values in like you might do in a sum, but I'm going to use their cells instead, or the cell references. So the first item is the rent, which is £350, and that is in cell B4. And then I'm going to add that to what is in B5, add B6, add, little mistake there, add B7, add B8, add B9, add B10, finally adding B11. Now at this point I don't want to do anything more except press enter, and it will tell me that the total of that lot is 795. You might be wondering why I can't just do this on a calculator. Of course I can, but if any of these cells with these money values in changes, then my formula will automatically update and what I can see here will change. So for example, if my gas and electricity bill was to increase by £7, it would now be £57, and you can see that the total has been updated. So I'm going to complete this spreadsheet by adding the remaining formulas into these yellow cells. Remember, anything that can be calculated, you should get the spreadsheet to do it for you rather than work it out manually. That way it'll be more accurate, and if any of the items of data that go into the formula change, it will automatically update. So I'm going to add these up. So it's equals. This first cell is E4. added to E5, E6, E7 and E8, which gives me a total of 315 rather. Just to check it, I'm going to increase this by 1, 201, and my total should change by 1, which it does. So to work out the total spending, I need to add up the spending on all the essential items to the luxury items. Essentials are in B12, luxuries in E9. So it's equals B12 add E9. Okay, so that works out at 1,110, which is just slightly higher than my wages. So if I start off with my wages and then take away what I spend, I'm left with a negative figure, which means I can't quite afford it. So I'll need to make some changes there, obviously reducing what I spend on some of my luxury items. Perhaps I can cut out a takeaway or two to make the savings. And the real power of spreadsheets is any of these figures could change, and that will update the yellow cells which perform the calculations. So I might get myself a new job with some more money, and that would mean I have £300 left over, which I could use for my spendings, or I could change how much I spend on my essential or luxury items. So I might decide to treat myself to some more entertainment, buy some more expensive food. I could afford to live in a different place, which might cost me a little more, etc. But as you can see, all the calculated totals automatically update, so it gives me a good idea of where my finances are.